Gonna make the profiles boom, 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 boom. What it is, I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is. What it is one of the craziest fucking stories I've ever heard, right? What it isn't today is added preservatives, bullshit, and fake stories, right? Now, let me get straight to it in a menudo style, direct fashion. I was chopping it up with the homeboy from Colorado, right? Now, a lot of people don't understand, man, they're active and they function. The wind's blowing, right? They program in Colorado like a motherfucker, right? And there's a gang there that's worldwide, that's been everywhere, homes. And a lot of people sleep on them. And we're talking about Mara Salvatrucha. We're talking about MS13, man, in a real way, in a real fashion. Now, for those of you that don't know, man, and you're not really up on game, let me give you some knowledge you definitely can't get in college. When it comes to MS13, there's 3 factions of MS13. So I was guessing one. There's not just one group organization. Yes, they all function pretty much the same way, but do they? One never knows, does one? There is 3 factions. There's one group that's based on political aspects of shit. They're very political, high power. These are the ones that are doing it. They are about that life, right? They are Mara, pure and simple, plain and simple. So let's get in a real way. Say it with the chest. They're doing it, definitely. Then there is the group, man, that are out there fucking basically focused on the eradication of all 18th Streeters and all adversaries, and they love to cause mayhem and confusion, and these are the ones that are fucking out there on the street levels functioning out there in El Salvador, the El Salvadorian real life MS13. And then of course you have the LA based MS13. Pretty much they focus on more of the gang culture, the gang aspects. They wiggle in a machete fashion, but at the same time, homes, they are doing it more like a Southerner, more like a Sureño. That's just their get down, right? Now, of course, the Mara Salvatrucha, the political ones don't identify with the Trece. They don't like that. They don't like to function under California politics or any of the type of gang ties that tie the United States into El Salvador. That's just not their get down. But that's neither here nor there, man. That's something that internally they fight about. They will figure out. And so we're going to leave it like that. We like our heads on our shoulders. Now, there was a story told to me by the homeboy, and I vetted the story, and it's a factual, actual story, and it's actually one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, because this is how real it gets out there on them streets, right? So trip out on the story. So a few years back, what happened was, how they function out there in Aurora, Colorado, is they have a nice little base of MS13, right? And these guys function basically under the California politics. You know, they adhere to a lot of the California rules and regulations, but they're doing it in a Colorado fashion, meaning they're from Colorado. That's their clica, that's their hood. They're going to stand down and stand back for what they believe in. But at the same time, man, they function basically in the same paths as the MS13 from California, the original, you know, gangsters. So that's just the way it is. Well, I guess 6 vatos came from El Salvador that were MS13, but these vatos looked a little bit more square. As you can tell by that thumbnail, there's a few of them on that thumbnail, as well as a vato named Diablo in the green shirt, who was the main culprit in this case, right? Ooh, wait, pinche Diablo. He lived his name to the fullest, right? So what happened was these 6 came, and the way that MS13 works is the embracement, the canalismo is real. They look out for each other. So as motherfuckers come from a different country and it's all good in the hood. You know, you look out for your brothers. But according to the homeboy, man, that was actually one of the main brothers doing it out there for MS13 in Colorado, he said these 6 didn't look like they posed a potential threat to anyone. They were just 6 homeboys that came from El Salvador, and of course they embraced them and showed them love, and they were going to function within the fucking the get down. The way they looked to this guy, he said, was more square than anything, but at the same time, man, you can't judge a book by its cover, because hitter's worse sin. Okay, what this guy didn't know, what came to pass, was these guys actually came with an agenda from El Salvador, and that agenda was to clean the streets up, because they truly believed in El Salvador that you have to push the MS13 policies. You have to push the MS13 get down, and these guys were not causing mayhem. Mayhem is a big word when it comes to Mara Salvatrucha. They believe, right, in chaos and eradicating their enemies. They believe in hunting, going out there hunting. Now, 18th Street being very deep in Colorado and being the #1 priority target for MS, they believe that these guys that were there in Colorado weren't handling their business like they should have. Now, you got to understand, the guys in Colorado are like, hey, homies, you guys are in El Salvador. We're in the United States. This is our business. This is the way these are the streets, homie. This is how we get down, right? So they were going to wiggle however they wiggled. But at the same time, man, that wasn't enough, right? These vatos wanted these guys to be headhunting. So they sent 6 of the most elite headhunters that didn't look like it. But like I said, don't judge a man by the way he looks. Judge a man by the way he gets you shook, right? They came, and of course they played the role like they didn't know too much, but they knew a whole lot more. They were sent with an agenda to eradicate the whole hierarchy as well as any 18th streeter they can get. So this is what the plan they implemented, allegedly, right? They literally started to get online. For guys that don't know how to speak English and weren't really up on game, they sure know how to fucking wiggle around an iPhone, right? They were able to get online under the guise of beautiful women and start to target 18 streeters. You know, there is 6 bodies known, you know, that were found that they actually fucking cut up in pieces and threw on freeways. They would get these guys, they would act like it was a woman, do the old Folsom setup. These 18 streeters would show up, and then these guys would show out going on pinche machete. Now, everyone knows the machete is the weapon of choice when it comes to MS. That's just their get down. That's how they like to wiggle. That's how they like to move, right? I don't like to really speak on the inner workings of why that is and how they get down like that, but they do, humps. They always have, and I'm sure they always will. Menudo, right? They say it with the chest or machete. Either way, someone's getting cut. But what they were doing is they were acting like they were hyenas, man, and getting these guys to come meet up with them, these 18 streeters, these high priority targets, and they were hitting them. They were actually cutting them up, cutting their body in pieces and throwing them along this freeway, you know, so that way the deer, the fox, the fucking wolves or whatever would eat their body parts. And it was working out. It worked out for 6 bodies. One of them that actually flipped on the stand did say that there was actually 13 to 14 bodies out there. But one will never know because that's get going. Un pinche fox is full in a motherfucker right now. He ate 2 eyes, an earlobe, and a motherfucking chin bone. He's good, right? So yeah, feed the animals. But at the same time, this is what these guys were doing. Now, this is no disrespect to 18th Street whatsoever at all, homes. Nothing but the utmost respects. But this is what the MS13 was doing. Now, it was going back and forth. At this time, vatos were coming up missing. You know, the streets talk. These are the streets, I mean, they talk, right? And so the 18th Streeters, they were retaliating as they should. And it was going back and forth. Guerra was really hot at that time. Okay? Now, this Vato Diablo, who actually fucking was leading the charge with these 6, he was a well-known guy out there. The type of guy that would give you your shirt off your back, look out for anyone, come eat at his house, kick it at his house. But at the same time, what a lot of motherfuckers didn't know, but he was trying to take over and he was trying to implement a whole new hierarchy. He was going to use these 6, man, to decimate and get rid of all his own homeboys so that way he could lead the charge in an El Salvador fashion. Basically, they were going to flip the California political reasoning behind what they were doing and turn it into an El Salvador type based gang and wiggle that way. Basically, headhunting, mayhem, chaos. That's what they truly believed. And that's what he truly believed. He was dedicated, a dedicated soldado, right? So how these guys end up getting busted was they actually went to a club. Now, you have to understand, these guys were the equivalent to the paisas of California. And when I say paisas, I say it in a very respectful way, right? You know, you go to the club, you got cholos, you got chicanos, we wiggle how we wiggle, but at the same time, you have some paisas, man. And the paisas are considered different, yet not. That's where we are derived from, homes. You never forget your roots and the people you come from. You know what I mean? The nationals, the Mexican nationals, that's where I come from. Those are my gente. I got familia from Juarez and Zacatecas, and that's just to get down. But these guys looked the paisa role, yet they were MS13 to the real ones, the actual real ones, right? So there was a very well-known chick from 18th Street at this time, and she was at this club. Now, what makes her so unique is her old man was actually the main 18th Streeter out there in Colorado doing things. He had moved from California, so he was a real one. He came out there to establish his barrio, Tiny Cycles, and was just doing his fucking thing as an 18th Streeter. Well, his Jaina was very well known to be boisterous, voice her opinion, you know, I mean, talk whole lot of gang shit on gang. And reason being was that her old man was somebody, and Jainas do that. Traditionally, they do that. If they know their old man is that one, he's the shot caller, he's the llavero, he's the fucking one with power. They think that all of a sudden they got the power, and they like to misuse that and abuse that authority, and sabes que it just doesn't come out good for them in the end, right? Usually their old man ends up fucking whacking them or choking them, sabes que after they give him a mamon. And that's just what it is. So anyways, this Jaina was one of those that like to talk a whole lot of gang shit, right? So she's at this club, she recognizes these guys for what they are, and she walks up to them and she says, hey, are you guys from MS? She says it in a disrespectful manner in English, right? And these guys, you gotta understand, didn't understand English, so they kind of look at each other like, what, bitch? I say, bitch, right? What are you saying to us, right? You want to give us a memo? And then all of a sudden she says, oh, you guys don't understand English. Okay, let me say it in Spanish. And she disrespects him in the highest fashion in Spanish, right? It's at this point these guys are like, you know you done fucked up, right? Alrighty, you know you done fucked up. She has several tattoos indicating she's from 18th Street. So right off the top, they want to chop her whole head off, right? But now she done disrespected these guys in her face. Being the type of individuals they were different, right? They weren't going to make a move right there in public so they could get caught up. They were going to wait, plot, and plan. So what they did is they turned it on her in a Chicano fashion, in a reverse fashion. What they did was they went back to the internet and they proceeded to get one of their homeboys, who they say was a handsome motherfucker, right? Sort of like myself, right? And he was able to manipulate and play this chick out of her panties, right? And they were like, and she was like, hey, what's up? What's up? They got at each other for a few days, maybe a week. And he was able to fucking convince her to meet him so that they can go, bailo. So she did this. Even having a husband of a high caliber nature, she was able to be manipulated just in the way that they were manipulating these guys, right? Hey, pussy's pussy, right? Dick is dick. That's what she want, right? So anyways, they called her, bam, she's supposed to meet this guy. This guy is in a Jeep. What she didn't know was there were several other of these other guys from MS in the back of this Jeep, and all of a sudden they sprang up like one pinchy fucking tiger. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the bitch throat's cut tonight. They hit her with the machete and cut her up. The word on the curb was that she was told to drive around in this Jeep for 2 hours while she was tortured, maimed, and then ultimately murdered, cut up in pieces, and thrown out. Now, this was all seen on camera from video surveillance of wherever they were at. And so the cold part in the trial was that these guys were seen laughing, giggling, acting like they were having a good old time with sangre dripping from machetes. That's just the get down. You got to understand, these individuals were cold, callous, and were sent with an agenda. She was just collateral damage, but her being an 18th streeter or an 18th streeter's old lady, Saskia, that was the cherry on top. They were hunting 18th Street, and their ultimate goal was to eradicate their own people. They were not fucking around, right? So they're seen on camera. Of course, it's a big deal because this girl was very notoriously known in the area. When she came up missing, people started to come from California. People started to come from different areas. The response was real on her behalf. In trial, I guess, one of them did flip and tell the whole story as what usually happens in the life. But I guess from the surveillance they actually seen these guys pulling up with her dead body to a gas station to get a little gasolina so that way they can get rid of the evidence. The car was lit on fire. The remains were found. Eventually, ultimately, all these guys were arrested and this story came out. Now, this story didn't hit the airwaves like, you know, some big stories would. Reason being, when it's that gang related and it's got international players involved, man, people like to keep it quiet, especially when it comes to social media and when it comes to the news. These stories are not spoken on. Reason being, it fuels the fire of guerra, it fuels the fire of war. But at the same time, man, people are intimidated and scared by these gangs, at least when they're local. They're like, fuck that, I ain't touching that. But her head was, but that was her head. I got my head still. Shit, I'm trying to wig over here. I ain't trying to be bing, da, ba. No, they're active and they're trying to get the fuck up out of there, right? They don't want to be involved in that. And that's quite understandable. Like I said, this story took place a couple years back, man. Didn't hit the airways. But if you want to fact check it, it's Aurora, Colorado. Fact check it, right? Now, of course, this guy Diablo was given several years. They were all charged with first degree murder, given life without the possibility of parole. I'm sure a few of them were deported that didn't have papers. And that's just the way the game works, okay? People sleep on MS13. They're a very dangerous gang, but at the same time, they're not like people think. Every one of them are not out there with machetes just chopping people up, and they're not fucking crazy like everyone thinks. A lot of them are just doing their own thing, man. I was told by a guy from MS13, a very high-ranking member out of Colorado, told me his own self, bro, we have no problems with certain individuals. He said with 18th Street, it's on site. We know that. They know that. Everybody knows that. It's best if they stay out our way and we stay out their way, because they are an adversary that's basically poses a potential threat to us. They are a very big gang and they fucking fight back, and it's back and forth. He goes, as far as Norteños, Crips, Bloods, Latin Kings, things of that nature, we have no problems with them as long as they don't start no shit with us, right? He goes, quite contrary to what people believe because of what's put out there in social media and out there in the airwaves, we are not the type of group to just walk around with machetes hurting everybody because we can. He said, that's not our get down. We have our own political makeup, our own structure, our own organizational rules and regulations, and we live by that creed, right? He goes, now at the same time, if people disrespect us, well, choppy chop, chop chop. You know what I mean? On power, they're going to do what they does, right? And they're going to do what they do. But he said, it's not like we're out there some type of monsters doing it. That is a stigma and that is a label that's been put on us. That is not MS13, period, homes. We're a very respectful group that just wants to do our own thing. As is most gangs, man. Most gangs, they would rather just stay in their neighborhoods, kick back, homes. La primera lives, right? Hey, my neighborhood is primera, right? Number one, they just want to kick back with their own homeboys, their canals, Kickback, carnalismo is real, carne asada is even realer, mamons are the realest, right? And everyone's living, you know what I mean? You got a fine old lady, hey, that's a fine ass hyena, Joker, right? That's get save some for me, looky. Get down, demon. Get up, Chucky, right? There's a time and a place for everything. There's a time to shine and a time to rewind and just kind of kick back, let the rhymes tax, maintain MCs while the doubly max. And most definitely, this guy told me that is what MS13 is all about. Of course, I thought this was one of the most craziest stories I ever heard because the setup was real. And that's what I tell people. I tell my own homeboys, I lace them up. I give them knowledge they won't get in Healed College. So, I mean, if they want to be a mechanic in 6 months, handle it, right? But if you want some real game and you're out there in the streets, man, fuck with your boy. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to give you the real. And the real is that you cannot lay your guard down ever. Your awareness needs to be up. You need to respect people as you want to be respected. And also, man, highness will get you caught up in the game, and vatos likewise, right? That's just the way it is. That is the era now. You think you're talking to a chick on un pinche big old fucking tetas, but that's not what you're really talking to. You're talking to some fucking paisa in the corner with a machete dripping. Simon, orale, the wind's blowing, right? And it's going to be on and cracking. So, your best bet is to maintain awareness and stay aware of what you're doing, right? Don't fucking fall for the okie doke. Don't fall for the old Folsom setup. Because like I said, several individuals fell for that and they no longer have their heads. Off with their heads. And it's a horrible, horrible situation. But such is life, man. We live in a world that is very, very different now. People are literally hunting each other because they can. And they shall, right? And that's just what it is. Like I said, these guys were considered like sicarios, basically. They were sent down to eradicate. Now, they were never able to actually implement the next phase of their plan, which was actually taking out their hierarchy. Vatos were kind of aware of that and were watching these guys by this time. The guy I talked to said, bro, it blew my mind when this shit all came out and this shit happened because I used to ride around with these guys and little did I know these guys were trying to kill me as well. I said, I don't know why they didn't. Well, their whole thing was to hunt as many adversaries as they could down, deal with these guys, and then dip out and back to El Salvador and leave the homeboy Diablo established so that way he could recruit some more soldados with the El Salvador philosophy, which is a total different philosophy from MS13 out of California, right? And you need to understand that. You're always going to have the real and then you're going to have the really real, right? And MS13 in California, we all know, man, a lot of them, I don't know what's going on now in the feds. What I'm told in the feds is the beat goes on, shit ain't really changed. This whole fucking beef between fucking the South and MS13 isn't like you think, man. It's only based on a few individuals. This is what an actual shot caller from MS13 told myself, right? And I'm putting it out there, bang, bang. But I don't know. I've not been there, man. And federal prison is federal prison. Now, as far as fucking what's going on in the calles, like I said, there's 3 different clicas, 3 different structures to MS13, man. And most of them, for the most part, are going to wiggle how they wiggle. But the California ones are looked at just a little bit different, just based on, man, they show a lot. They show a lot of support and a lot of basically they adhere to the rules and regulations of California, the Southern organization. That's just what it is. Anyways, with that being said, man, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. That was just a little story I want to put out there. It's just a little bit because the wind's blowing different. Oh, power rules, real though. It's a fact, right? Don't judge a book by its cover, man. You might think you got a bomb up. Do you see her nalgas? Man, her nalgas are big. And then there's some fucking dude with a big old afro and a machete. And you're like, the homeboy's looking at you. You're so sharp, big nalgas. Right? And it's over. Anyways, with that, I hope you move smooth with a purpose. Hope that you get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about struggling for you and your familia, staying out the way, man. That's how you keep your head on your shoulders. I'm trying to do the same shit, man. The struggle is real, right? If you like this, please hit that like and subscribe. This is Gunner's Profile. Make sure you tap in with Gunner's Collective. I'm dropping Boom Bangladeshis over there. If you don't like me because I'm too brown and I'm too proud, right? It's all right. I understand. Not everyone likes me. ¿Sabes qué? Because I wiggle, right? Hit that thumbs down, heavy as the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle for what I truly believe in, which is the betterment of all people, the coming together, the uniting of the raza, black and brown, orale, in a brown fashion. Sprinkle in the white guys because I got a lot of respect for them. Usos, hey, what's up, Sole? Asians, orale, my homeboys. Bang, bang, you know what it is. This is the gun. True stories.